Good morning, everyone. Hope you all are excited and enthusiastic. I'm Yuvetika Sri, and here is our resource person, Balaji Ramasamy sir. Before getting started, I wish to say a few words about him. I have attended one of his sessions arranged through our management. Based on the interaction in the session, I'm fortunate enough to get an one-on-one session with him. We had it for about a week, and personally, I learned a lot. So, I guarantee you that your time allotted for this session can inspire you to get more into your communication skills. Let me introduce you. Balaji Ramasamy sir has been a teacher at the prestigious British Council for 2 years. He has worked in the field of English language teaching for almost 10 years. His tips on English language teaching were featured on BBC Learning English. He has authored 3 books. Welcome you, sir.
Thanks a lot, Yuvetika. Pleasure to be here.
We too, sir. So, guys, before getting into the session, if you have to ask any questions, you can put a message in your chat box, or else you can just give information and then you can unmute. Okay. So let's get started. Sir, I wish to ask you a few questions. Shall I?
Sure. Yeah, please go.
Okay, sir. So, what should be the first step in getting started with a good communication skill?
Um, so communication involves a lot of aspects. It's not only about speaking. It has a lot to do with listening as well. And in addition to that, we also have reading and writing. I often tell people the more you listen, the better you speak, the more you read, better you write. That's not the complete story. When we learn any of our regional language or when we learn our mother tongue, we were listening to it. And in addition to listening to our mother tongue from various people who spoke it in our family, we also tried to speak. So, you listening to English, French, or any language is not going to help you until you try to talk about it in that language. So, listening helps you to get better at speaking, provided listening is followed by speaking. Similarly, your reading practice is going to help you get better at writing, provided you write at least a short paragraph about what you read. This is how communication works in general, or language, learning a language works. Yeah. You can go for the next question. I, I think your voice is breaking. I think your voice is breaking.
So, hello, sir. Is it okay?
Yeah, seems to be better.
Okay, sir. So, you define a person as a good communication skill.
How do I? Sorry, Vedika, could you repeat that question?
It's been a little network issue. So, how do you define a person who has a good?
You have muted yourself. Okay, so how do you define a person having good communication skills? There are different levels of um, analyzing this or answering this, I'd say. The first aspect would be like, can this person articulate what he really wants to say, what he or she really wants to say? And based on what I hear, do I really understand what the person intends to convey? So another aspect of communication is it takes to the next level. So when you are at high emotional states, when you're extremely angry or when you're frustrated, when you're upset, uh, what do you say? How do you communicate something, but in a professional manner? So you can't uh, use extreme language because you are frustrated in an official context, right? Or not just in an official context, in any context, it is not really advisable to use extreme language or unparliamentary words. So how do you go about, um, you know, being diplomatic about it? That is another aspect of communication that comes at the next level. So once you know how to uh, communicate what you think or feel, the next step is to be diplomatic when it comes to high emotional states. You can learn a lot about it by going through things related to emotional intelligence. We have an interesting book in Tamil on emotional intelligence. Uh, I think it's titled Idliyaga Irungal. It's by Soma Valliyappan. So that also gives you enough insights about how to handle your emotions and let it not affect your communication in a bad way. So these are certain levels of communication. And then there is a next level of communication wherein you will intend to sell an idea or a product or a service. In most cases, you're doing it. Even in an interview, you are trying to um, sell the skills you have so that you get selected for that particular job, right? So that is another aspect of communication. So there are different levels of this. And if you um, do not give up at what you want to achieve, which is the end result of your speaking, listening, reading, writing, whatever it is, then you become a good communicator. And if you're a very good listener, you can easily become a good communicator.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, what pushed you to be an English language trainer?
I started in the IT field as an engineer. Uh, that wasn't really my cup of tea. After I finished my engineering, I wanted to get into a job. I did not care which job it was. So I got into an IT job, though my what do I say? Though what I studied was automobile engineering. Um, while I did not like automobiles so much, I did not hate it so much either. So I just studied that, and I did not know what I was going to do. All I needed was a job after 4 years. I got a job in an IT firm, so I took it up. I worked there. And the first 8 days of training was called the fluency training, which really inspired me a lot. I wanted to be in that place of the trainer. So I started taking baby steps from day one, and I finally reached where I wanted to reach after 3.5 years. And I started working as a communication coach. So I worked as a communication coach for a couple of years, after which I got into full-time English language teaching at language schools like King's Learning and then British Council as well. And now I'm a freelancer. So this is how my journey has been uh, in terms of getting into language teaching. I just loved it, and I was inspired by some of the trainers. My mother had been a teacher of English for around 20 years, so that's also another reason why I really love to do this. You can go ahead. Is there any club to improve communication skills? So there is something called the Toastmasters Club, which can help you a lot in terms of enhancing your communication skills. And if you are college students, you can create your own group wherein you practice speaking as well. So you can just pick random topics. There is something called Pick and Speak that people have as a contest in many institutions, right? You can try something like that on a weekly basis. You can create your own club. However, Toastmasters is something uh, that we have today based on almost 1992, 95, 96 years of research, if I'm not wrong. It started in 1924. It has continued till today, making a difference to a lot of people. So when you join Toastmasters, every 6 months you will have to renew your membership. It does come with a cost. However, it has a very beautiful formal structure, and you also get dedicated mentors who will help you with your speeches. So some of these are called prepared speeches. If you're not sure about joining Toastmasters Club, don't worry so much about it. Just go into any of your Toastmasters clubs, any of the clubs that are near to you as a guest. And today we have a lot of clubs that are meeting online. So you can go as a guest for that club. All the clubs have some Facebook page or Instagram page where you can collect the details of their meetings and attend their meeting as a guest. When you attend the meeting of the meeting as a guest, you will get a chance to participate in the table topics section. Table topics is nothing but pick and speak. Yeah, you can participate in that as well. That gives you an idea of how it works. Um, However, when you become a member, you will get a chance to work with a mentor. You will come up with prepared speeches. You will explore a lot more than communication because you will develop a great network. You will also have friends from different parts of the world, and you will also have a chance to work with the next level rather than just being a member. You will also have a chance to be a part of something called their committee, and then committee is just for that particular club, and 4 or 5 clubs together gets called as an area, and then there is division and district and so on. So at different levels you can take up various officer roles if you're really interested in leadership. That can also help you to get to know a lot of things. So that way Toastmasters is extremely beneficial um, to get to know about, to enhance your leadership, communication skills, your network, and a lot more. Right? It helps you to start thinking in a much more positive way. So it's a brilliant platform. You can find the nearest Toastmasters club by just going to the website toastmasters.org. Toastmasters.org is the website. You can go to that website and type your locality. So then the website can fetch you the details of the nearest club. Similarly, you can also go to Facebook and look for some Facebook pages or groups of any Toastmasters club and get the details and try to join any of their meetings. You can start one club of your own as well. Yeah.
So, what is the procedure of starting our own club, sir?
So if you are interested in starting your own club, you will have to connect with some of the leaders within the in your locality in Toastmasters, which you can find on the Toastmasters website. If you find out which district your area falls under, you will get some details of the officers in your district, and you can create your own Toastmasters club. There are two ways to create it. One is creating it as a community club where you take the complete ownership. Another one is creating it as a corporate or a college club where the college or the company also plays a role in either partly taking up the membership or partly helping you with setting up things, or just approves you to have a club in the name of the college or in the name of the company. So both are possible. One is setting up something of your own, and for that you have to find a location or something like that, or you can have it as an online club. And the other is to have a club in the name of the college or the company, for which you need to take approvals from the respective company or a college.
Okay, sir. So one more thing is, do we need to use perfect grammar to be a good communicator?
Um, it depends on the scenario because while not all aspects of grammar are quite critical, it's absolutely okay if you don't use so many figures of speech. But can figures of speech increase the level of your you know it can make your language look quite attractive. For example, I drive slowly. Um, I can also say I drive at a snail's pace. It makes a difference, right? So there's nothing wrong with saying I drive slowly, but I drive at a snail's pace captures the attention of the people. So it's absolutely okay if you don't do this. However, when you use the present form instead of the past form, or you use the future form instead of the present form, it changes the meaning of what you intend to convey. For example, when you talk about the routine and you say, I will wake up at 6, then it means you are going to start this only from the future. But when you talk about routine, you're talking about what you already do. So it should be, I wake up at 6. So some critical aspects like tenses, you cannot afford to go wrong. Similarly, conditional sentences, when we use will in the first part of the condition, first part meaning in the conditional clause, if I will have time, I will attend. No need of if I will have time. If I have time, I will attend the session, right? So this can be a jarring error. It can uh, it can look like an obvious error that's being projected as someone who is not proficient enough in the language. So those kind of errors should also be taken care of so that you don't come out as a person who finds it hard to communicate in English. Yeah. So take care of the grammar aspects that can affect the meaning that you intend to convey and avoid some kind of jarring errors that can make you look like a person with a lower level of proficiency.
Yes, sir. There is a question in the chat box. Is that we must use long sentences to be impressive?
Uh, it depends on the context. You need not use long sentences. I always recommend using shorter sentences, irrespective of whether you're speaking or you're writing. In some exams, if one of the parameters that the examiners look for is making longer sentences, or rather using complex sentence structures comfortably and in a natural manner, then you need to try and create some long sentences. Otherwise, long sentences are not necessary.
Yes, sir. So how to improve our phrasals and idioms in practice rather than reading them?
So there are some amazing books, and on Instagram there's a page called Idiom Land, wherein you will get amazing examples of phrases and how they are used in some movies. So that way you can remember those kind of idioms easily. Similarly, you can read some books which are extremely good with metaphors or usage of comparisons or figures of speech. The best ones, I couldn't recollect anything now. Sidney Sheldon's books are the ones that I often read. I think they have great descriptions. And Salman Rushdie is called the king of metaphors. He uses a lot of metaphors, one of the controversial authors, but he uses a lot of metaphors in his books. So these are certain things that you can read, and this will make such metaphors a part of your language.
Okay, sir. So what should we do to gradually increase our communication skill if we are not in a circumstance to practice with our friends very often?
I'm sorry, I think I missed that.
What should we do to gradually increase our communication skill if we were not in a circumstance to practice with friends very often?
Ah, great question. So if you cannot gradually improve your communication skills by talking to people, then today we have technology, right? Maybe you listen to radio or podcast, or you watch some videos, then try to talk about it. You can just switch on the audio recording on your phone, or start your own podcast. Podcast is, you can, it's free of cost. You say, this is something I heard from some channel, or this is something I watched, and this is what I feel about it, and this is what I understood from it. So that way you get to talk about it. You can either just uh, record it on your phone and keep it to yourself and listen to what you recorded. You can also start a podcast and publish it. So both the ways, after listening, you are getting a chance to speak and practice. And the second part is same goes with writing. You don't need audience to read. If you want audience, they are available online. You can start your own blog with something like wordpress.com or blogspot.in. You can create your own blog and you can start writing whatever you want to write, or you can write on your LinkedIn page as well. So that helps you.
Okay, sir. So, what do you suggest us to improve as a good communicator?
So I think this is pretty much what I would suggest: taking speaking after you listen and writing after you read. Speaking more, reading more always helps. And just an additional tip that I would give is re-listening and rereading are very good. So if you have set yourself a target this year, 12, every month I read one book. So I have to read 12 books this year. Then I would like to tell you, you read 6 books twice rather than reading 12 books. Same book, you read it twice. The second time you read something, the second or even the third or the fourth time you listen to something, you pay more attention to how the language is being used, how the communication is becoming more effective, rather than just listening to it once. The first time you're listening to understand, you're reading to understand, okay, what is the message? What is the story? What's happening? The second, third, fourth time when you read or listen, that's when you're paying attention to how the author or the speaker is using communication effectively or language effectively. So I would really advise re-listening and rereading. That's a great way to go about enhancing your language.
Yes, sir. I know well that you often play with words. So, can you suggest how to develop our vocabulary?
Um, See, again, now when many people ask this question about how do we develop our vocabulary, it's not so much about using complicated words. Because if you use a lot of complicated words, not everyone you listen to can understand what you are trying to say. The intention of asking this question is, I don't want to use ordinary language. I want to say something which is a little different from ordinary, but it should be something nice to hear, something pleasant, something different, something attractive. And for that, using metaphors and similes always help, which is comparisons, right? And these need not be something that already exists in place. It's something. It can be something you just create on the spot. Yeah, just like how I said snail space. Yeah, for something that is you know going at a very slow speed. So you can come up with a number of such comparisons, similes or metaphors that you can use in your speech that can make it uh, that can make your speaking or writing really really attractive, I'd say.
Yes, sir. One more question in the chat box. Is it necessary to know more number of words to get fluency?
So now fluency is often, when you do not know a lot of words, you might get stuck when you're speaking. Okay, I get that. uh, it doesn't necessarily mean only this is hindering your fluency. Fluency can be hindered by a lot of aspects, not just uh, not knowing many words. It Your fluency can be hindered because you do not know how to organize your thoughts. Yeah. So when you join Toastmasters, there are some education sessions on Pick and Speak, where they give you some techniques on how to think on the feet and organize your speech. For example, one technique we learn is any topic you get, think about how it was in the past, how is it now, and how it will be in the future. Combine these three, and then you have a nice short speech. Another way to organize your thoughts is any topic you get, think about what are the advantages and disadvantages of it and your opinion on that. That's another way to organize your speech. And there is another technique where when you have to share an opinion, you can talk about your opinion, state your opinion, give the reason, and then example. Opinion, reason, example. That's another technique to organize your speech. And then there is another very famous technique you might have heard using all the question words: what, why, where, when, who, how, all of these. And you use all these questions for this particular topic that was given to you, and from that you can present a short speech. These are some of the ways in which you can organize your thoughts on the feet. It need not be always because you don't have enough, you don't know enough words that you are stuck. It could be because you do not know how to organize your thoughts. It could also be because some aspects of vocabulary are not a part of your language yet. So one such aspect is called discourse markers. So you can just go to Google and type the word discourse markers. What are those discourse markers? Discourse markers help you to maintain a decent level of continuity in your speech. You don't have to overuse them, um, but if you do not use them at all, then their the continuity in what you speak or what you write can be hindered. Okay, so that's another aspect. Fluency can also be hindered because you're afraid to speak in front of many people. To overcome that, every time you have to speak in front of many people, think about the happiest moment of your life that makes you feel better instantly, and your body language, voice modulation, everything will fall in place when you do that. So you don't have to specifically focus on those aspects. Think about the happiest moment and then start talking. Everything will flow. So these are certain ways to uh, enhance your fluency, or uh, yeah, these can help you with fluency. Yeah.
Thanks for the brief answer, sir. So, as you said, to speak in public, many of us will have a fear or just will stay behind. So, how to overcome the fear of speaking up in public, especially in English?
So the whole idea is, let's just for an instance, let's assume someone from some other country, okay, maybe from an English speaking country, or maybe from some non-English speaking country like France or Germany. They travel to India, and they obviously do not know how to speak Hindi. They would have learned some basic words and questions, how to frame it in Hindi or in Kannada or in Tamil, whatever language it is, right? And then they would come to this place. They whether they travel here for work or for entertainment, they're not going to feel inferior for not knowing this language or for not speaking these languages perfectly. And there is absolutely no need for us to feel inferior when we cannot speak a foreign language perfectly. It is a foreign language and we can never be 100% perfect in it. If that's the case, then why are we learning the language? Because we need it for our work, we need it for our survival. And if I use that language correctly, it helps me to have a better life at work, or better life in terms of connecting with people who speak that language, or with the people whom that's the only common language I can speak in. Yeah. So that is why we are learning this language. There's no crime, no harm if we are not good at this language, if we are making more mistakes in this language. So that's something important that we need to get. At the same time, be present to this idea that we are learning this so that things can be a little easier for us. That's it. So when you operate from this, there is no too much of pressure on you to make sure that you are some kind of best performer when you're on stage. So you are there to speak a foreign language. And what you do, that's exactly what you're going to do. So what's the big deal?
Okay, sir. So, can you share a few words about your books, maybe My Mistakes and Lessons and The Little Book of Learning?
Oh, well, thank you. The Little Book of Learning is available on Kindle now, only on Kindle. It's about vocabulary. It's about enhancing vocabulary using different words instead of using the same words. I have explained that with some snippets of conversation between two people, mostly between like husband and wife or between a mother and son, something of this sort. With such dialogues, I have tried to bring different usage of different words that possibly have the same meaning. And I've also presented it with some colorful mind maps on Kindle. So that helps you to remember the kind of words that can be used in different contexts. Or it's not only words, in some cases, they are phrases also. And when it comes to mistakes and lessons, it's a book about the mistakes I made as a teacher. When I teach a lesson, when I teach a lesson, there could be certain things that do not go well according to my plan. So I reflect on those lessons after my class, and I find out what did not go according to my plan. So what I should have changed. And sometimes I did these reflections with other senior teachers who have helped me to, who have either given me feedback or who have helped me to figure out what went wrong in some places and how could I correct them. So this book is all about the mistakes I made as a teacher and what I learned from it and how correcting this can help me and many other teachers to conduct language classes more efficiently.
Yes, sir. So, have to write an efficient paragraph or a blog that makes other inspire.
So generally, when it comes to writing, what you can always do is, one of my Tamil teachers used to say this to me. If you want to write poems, read a lot of poems. If you want to write short stories, read a lot of short stories. If you want to write novels, read a lot of novels. If you want to write comics, read a lot of comics. So if you want to write blogs, uh, read a lot of blogs. Yeah. So that gives you an idea. Now blogs are of different categories: travel, food, um, mental health, or just health, and education and whatnot. So you might have a particular interest, like I want to learn about this. We had a guest in one of the recent programs who spoke a lot about blogging. I think I can uh, give me a second. I am just looking for her name. Her name is Ruth. I'll share her, Ruth Adiyemi. So she's someone who is excellent when it comes to blogging. She has also got some courses that can help you. I'll share those details with you, Vedika. Maybe she can share it with others. So I think that's how you can go about it. Read a lot of blogs that uh, present the ideas that you want to present, and then you bring your own style to what you want to write, and then start writing, start editing. Editing is a very important part of writing. Chop mercilessly is something that I have heard when it comes to writing. Whatever is unnecessary, just chop it off. It's not necessary to keep your books or whatever it is very lengthy. So whatever is not adding value, just chop it off, and do edit it. Get someone else to edit what you have written, not you editing by yourself. And definitely not on the same day when you write, because when you read what you have just written, you won't see the mistakes because in your mind you're reading the correct sentence, but what is on the screen is not the correct sentence. Okay, there are some spelling errors or grammatical errors. So you can never catch your own errors if you proofread immediately after writing. So at least do it the next day. If you do it by yourself, the best thing to do would be to ask one of your friends to do the proofreading for you.
Yes, sir. That seems effective. And there is one more question in the chat box.
Mhm.
To be a good communicator, is it necessary to speak fast?
Uh, Very interesting question. It is definitely not essential to speak fast. Before you think about speaking fast, I want you to imagine this. Imagine someone from England or Denmark or Germany learning our language like Tamil or Hindi or anything. They come here and try to speak fast in the language. How tough would it be for us to understand? It's the same thing we are doing when we speak English fast. If someone from Tamil Nadu speaks Tamil fast, we can understand because it's our mother tongue. Or if someone who speaks Hindi speaks fast, some of us can understand if we know Hindi very well. But not when a foreigner who has learned this language speaks fast. So it's extremely important to be slow when you speak English and clear. Very few instances you need to be fast when you speak English. When you talk about really exciting moments, when you talk about uh, when you're a cricket commentator, then you have to really speak fast. When you are talking about something sad, or when you're narrating a romantic story, what is the need to be fast? No need to be fast in those instances. Now, these are not very important for us in when it comes to work or talking about projects or paper presentations or interviews. We are talking about something that we understand or that we know or something that we have learned or something that we have done, and we try to explain something to somebody. And when you explain something to somebody who has no idea about what you have done, what is the point in speaking fast? Reminds me of one of my students who approached a very good communicator and asked, how do you do this? How do you do these presentations so beautifully? And the person said, I check if my grandmother can understand what I speak or what I explain. So that makes the language simple, your speed reasonable, and you're very clear when you speak. So speaking fast is not important at all.
Okay, sir. So the next question is, some say that thinking in English is the first step towards development. What is your view on that?
Thinking in English can actually help you a lot to avoid the errors that can pop up when you translate from your mother tongue. And that's one of the reasons why people ask us to think in English. Now, thinking in English is not so interesting. Sorry, thinking in English is something that is not so easy for some of us. Yeah, because we uh, we have been thinking in our mother tongue for a long time, and all our inputs have been in our mother tongue. So when you change your inputs, what you listen, what you read to English, that can help you a little bit towards changing your thinking to English. And the easiest way is, I remember watching a video where I think it was one of my fellow teachers named Ganesh. He said, whatever you think, for example, you wake up in the morning and you think, oh my God, I woke up so late. It looks so sunny today. Now, all these thoughts, try to change this to English. That way, you start thinking in English. That's one of the ways you can start thinking in English.
Great, sir. So, friends, do you have any other things to ask? It's time for you. If you have anything to ask, we can go ahead. Okay, sir. I guess that's it. So, guys, you can share your feedback on the session either in chat or by unmuting. Is there any volunteer so that we can hear your sweet voice?
So if any of you
So,
want to
in my
unmute and say
point,
something, you can. Yeah, yes, Ayurvedika, please go ahead.
yes, sir. So, in my point of view, I guess this session really helps for those who try hard to speak in English. So, you have given various ideas of how to develop and how to improve and how to speak, how to write, and how to listen every aspect. So, I guess this would be one in our cup of tea, sir. Thanks for the session and thanks for allotting some time for our improvement.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. See you some other time. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much.